Hello and welcome to episode
you were just
61.
You were just saying that you sounded a bit off with your audio, and then you've screamed in the microphone to open. Hello, welcome.
And welcome to
Not there now.
61.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You can't whinge about the noise.
I can't whinge about
and
the
then
noise.
do that. But yeah, good morning, 61.
Episode 61, Adam. Where's the time going?
Do you know, I did wonder today where my week's gone, if I'm being honest.
Honestly, yeah. It was fantastic. Been a great week for us.
You
We've
were in
been at
Newcastle yesterday.
Northeast Expo.
How was it?
Very good.
I was due
very
to
good.
go, but I had to then
Divert.
I had to divert and do some work.
Oh,
here,
bless you. That's what you get for being so busy.
I know.
Yeah,
but I
it was
like,
great.
I need
Lovely
to
to catch up with loads of people, new customers, old and new. Great event. A good buzz about it, I would say.
Yeah,
A good
from what
buzz.
I saw on socials, it looked really good.
Yeah, really good indeed. So,
Yeah.
But you're saying your week, has it just disappeared?
It has disappeared. Yeah, it has. Yeah, so it's been a busy week. New branding project on. Early stages of that, so I'll keep that one under wraps. But it's starting now.
Starting
really.
now, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, bit of website stuff, socials. I've been out in numerous schools,
Right.
photographing, and as at a hospital school as well, photographing the great work that they do when kids are unwell.
Fantastic. And have you brought your rugby clothes in?
I haven't, because we did lose rugby last week. First loss. First loss. Come on.
I might relax my rule then. I'll let you have them for one more game.
One more week. Well, we're playing the two top teams this week and next week.
I'll just have the clothes
so
back
we'll
now
see
then.
what happens. Yeah. I only actually got them delivered last night.
No.
So I wouldn't
What's going on there?
Well, it's lead times, isn't it? And getting them all sorted, new season and all that. So I know we've got a guest.
Got a guess.
Hello, guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Morning, chaps. I'm Tony Dobbins from Anthony Jones Properties.
Wow. In the building as well.
He's in the building.
He's in the building.
Not just today.
Not just
every
today,
day.
every
because
day.
your office is downstairs, isn't it?
It certainly is. Yeah, I think we're one of the
First, you were.
the oldest standing tenants.
I didn't know
Well,
that.
there you go. Interesting fact.
One of the originals of
So
Business
for the benefit of all of our listeners, what do you do?
We are estate and letting agents,
So
so everyone knows what that's all about.
Yeah.
really.
It certainly does. But I've done my homework. I've got questions.
Have you?
Good. But we'll let him carry on. So, how long has Anthony Jones Properties been going?
We are in our 9th year.
9 years.
9th year in the northeast. So
My goodness me.
It's, what a 9 years it's been.
I can imagine it being a bit of a roller coaster.
Holy smoke! Well, I mean, even just in the last 5 years. It's
Has
just
it
been
really?
insane? But no, we're as you can tell from my accent, I am not a local lad.
No, from Wales, apparently.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, Bishop Auckland. No, so the long-standing joke is swapped one West End for another West End.
Aha.
Yeah, so obviously not quite as many zeros in the West End that I'm currently operating in, but no, just loving it. So,
Right. So, where were you born?
so East London, and then North London,
God.
and then
What, were you born twice? A reincarnation? What?
yeah, absolutely.
Why not? Why not?
And then North East London.
Yeah.
But most of my working life in various industries has been in Central London. So West End and City, so Canary Wharf and
Wow.
so on. So
And what prompted the move up to the northeast?
had to be female, didn't it? Really.
Ah, it had to be.
So yeah. So my other half is from the northeast.
Gorgeous other half.
My gorgeous other half is from the northeast.
Yeah.
So yeah. Originally, I wondered whether there was an appetite for a sourcing agent to try and source portfolios of residential and commercial property for property investors in London,
Right.
because I have a network of those. And it wasn't really a thing in the same way that it is in London. I mean, it is done now. It seems to be more at the lower end of the market, which is not really what we're about. And whilst doing my feasibility study on where to set up and what to do, kept on coming back through Darlington because it's got the station here, and it's the nearest mainline station to where we live.
Yeah.
And there's a certain charm about the place, isn't there? I mean,
Yeah, there is,
I don't know what it is, but parts of it just remind me of North London, so Muswell Hill, Camden, bits of Crouch End.
Very lovely place, obviously.
Well, yeah, I mean, just the these beautiful old period properties. I just thought, why not?
Why not, indeed?
And Savills were in the town at the time, so I thought, well, if it's good enough for them,
Yeah, Savills can be here.
if I've completely messed up my feasibility study at if they've got it wrong, then we've all got it wrong.
Definitely.
Of course, 2 years later they pulled up sticks and
Yeah.
went to York and Newcastle. So
Leaving it all for you.
leaving it all for
They were
us.
terrified.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd agree with what you're saying about Darlington, not just because we live here and
No,
we
no.
work here, but I went to the Darlington Borough Council Stronger Communities Awards last Friday.
You were.
Because I'd nominated
Yes.
someone that didn't win the award, but to be nominated was great. But the that I was a bit taken aback, if I'm being honest. There was so many tables. There must have been about 400 people in the sport.
Gosh.
When I say in the sports hall, it was all marqueed in terms of it was marqueed, draped, real proper production by Per Productions, local company, with like spotlights for when the awards were announced. They were like spotlighting the guest walking up to the stage.
Very good.
Honestly, it was like a mini Oscars.
A mini Oscars, red
but-
carpet.
But you saw all of these great things that people are doing in the community. People that have done like setting up a park. There's a new park out at Blackwell, so they won an award. There's the one chap for the various community work that he's been doing. Cafe JJ's they
Yeah.
were announced, and they've done some incredible work with young people with learning disability and disabilities, and it was brilliant. So when you go.
The
See what
charm,
Darling,
yeah.
if you're in that room, you kind of go, wow, there's loads. There's
There really is
actually
a lot.
loads going on.
No, there is a lot. And obviously we touched on, and we are going to touch on next week, Celebrating Women in Business Awards that
Yes,
we
we are
attended
indeed.
last week, and we shall touch on that next week.
We will indeed. We will indeed.
Yeah, so very good.
So Darlington.
Yes.
So yeah, you've touched on it there, but you've taken a specific sort of area in the market. You've got a very deliberate proposition in terms of what you do. So take us in
Yeah.
the reasons why and what that is, I suppose.
So we seem to be synonymous with the upper end of the market. That's not absolutely sort of the intention.
No.
We certainly have a focus and a specialism for larger statement properties, but actually we don't mind which price point
Yeah, of course.
we operate at, as long as it's beautifully presented, it's interesting, sometimes quirky. We've done plenty of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to deliver an amazing experience. There you go, I've said it. Experience for the buyer and the seller, and for our team. So dealing with nicer houses, bigger houses, and being able to offer robust professional advice as to how to present it properly and get it sold is really what we're all about. But yeah, we have a focus at the upper end of the market. The average house in Darlington, and it's a lot of postcode. There's a lot.
There is a lot of
There is a
postcodes to
lot.
Darlington. Yeah, you're right.
The average is currently about 167,000, and our average in Darlington is just shy of 400,000. So that kind of tells you sort of
Yeah.
where we are.
I must admit, when I'm driving around and I do see the average for sale sign, shall I just say,
Yep.
and then I see an Anthony Jones Properties for sale, the houses, using your words, always seem to have an extra little bit of charm about them. There's something, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something unique about the houses that you advertise. When I see an Anthony Jones, I look at the house and I always like, wow, that's a really nice house.
Thank you. I mean, we're in the very fortunate position that we're not a corporate, so we're not targeted to just to get boards up and carpet bomb a particular area.
Yeah.
So we're we're a specialist agent. We're not a volume player.
No.
So we have a cap on how many properties we have on the market at any one time for several reasons. First of all, it's impossible for the team to know the backstory and the intricacies of 150, 200 houses. When a buyer phones up, they are absolutely entitled, when they speak to somebody, to know or to feel that person they're speaking to really understands and knows the house. So we go to a great deal of sort of time, effort, and care to really understand the house as well as we can, the owner's situation, any potential defects or anything that could derail a potential sale. So we have to be quite particular about what we take on.
Yeah.
But so long as the house is brand consistent and there is a particular kind of vendor, I think, that just gets us. We're not for everyone. I completely understand that. There are some owners, understandably, who have got a completely entrenched position over what they think their house is worth and what they should be entitled to and how it should all work and so on. And we're probably not the agent for them. But if if you put real value on professional, sound, robust, experienced advice, then then we'll probably have a really not a great time together, because there are so much of it is out of our collective control. But understanding what punches get thrown in the exchange, and being able to anticipate those early on, just means that we have a lower fall through rate. We get closer to our asking prices, and we just get people moved on with the next phase of their
It's
life.
fascinating, isn't it? It really is. I've often wondered, and again, I'm obviously it's not right to name the things, but I sometimes drive past a house that has a for sale sign on it, and I look at the state of the house, and I'm like, nobody's going to buy that.
Well, it'll always sell at a figure.
Yeah.
But it's to some degree it's a bit of an expectation management piece.
Yeah, of course. And that's what I was saying about when I look at your houses, they're always beautifully presented. What's fascinating is I didn't realise that you actually go into the history of the house. I mean, obviously, I see you on social media. I love the walkthroughs that you do and the run-throughs. It's really interesting to see inside the actual house. And obviously, that's something that you're working hard on.
I mean, obviously, social media has become a really big thing, and it's great for an agent like us, where we can showcase the property, and of course, in so doing, we really do have to get quite granular about the history of the home and when it's been extended and how it's been extended and who extended it and whether it was compliant when it was extended and whether something's an original feature or not, and so on and so forth.
I didn't realise so much work went into it. From the social media point of view, it really is interesting to see. It's a shame you haven't got some specialist. Oh, hello, Hannah, over in the corner, social media expert for Anthony Jones Properties. Yeah, since
My amazing
off mic, by the way.
Yeah, off mic,
but yes, over there.
my amazing Hannah.
No, absolutely. Some of the work that Hannah's done, I see it, and it's
it's incredible.
fabulous to see.
Yeah, it's top
and as I
notch.
say, I find it interesting because when I do see the houses, and again, with respect, Tony, not just yours, but some houses that I think, oh, wow, that looks amazing. I'd love to see inside it. What you've done is you've given the potential buyer that opportunity, that little window to see inside. Whereas just looking at a flat, like, yeah, okay, there's a picture, but you can't envisage it. Whereas you moving around the scene, it's wonderful to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost two camps. That if you do a walkthrough where you're showing absolutely every single thing inside every cupboard, inside the oven, in the shower cubicle, there's very little incentive for someone to come and see that in person.
Yes, of course.
And of course, you want to encourage that if you can, because it's very different sometimes standing in a house compared to just seeing
Seeing the video,
it.
yeah.
There's another school of thought which says that, well, it actually eliminates the time wasters because, they.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
That's
that, because obviously, as you know, in business in general, never mind just house sales, but you've kind of got to, I call it like wining and dining sort of thing. It's like dating, isn't it?
Yep.
The analogy, because people may be curious. They may go, oh, I want to know a little bit more. But then if you're providing the information, I'm always very quick to provide our service information, not in terms of I'm in a rush and I'm trying to convert them. What I'm trying to do is go, well, here's all the information with our typical price points of the services that you're asking for, in the idea that if they're then not interested, it stops there kind of thing for both parties, because I respect their time and equally I respect my own time.
Sure.
And I think sometimes it's really important. I think there's a lot to be said for kind of qualifying a lead, I suppose, in some regard, and they can kind of self-qualify if they've got the information. So I think with a walkthrough video, it's brilliant because you can go into the detail, you can wine and dine them with the story, but if they're potentially just going to time waste you, and I mean that respectfully, because they may be interested or they may just be passive and just curious. I think the good thing about property is everyone likes to have a little look, don't they? Like you're saying, everyone has a look on Rightmove. Usually, when the house is on your street and you've never been over to the neighbour's house, you'll have a little look, see what it's all about.
It's a national obsession. The weather and property.
Weather and property, 100%. So I think the fact that you can qualify it with a video to kind of show them, wine them, dine them, potentially. Then I mean, have you seen a difference in that with the video stuff when you've done more and more? Have you seen that you're getting more qualified inquiries? Or are you still getting people that are very much on the fence?
We certainly get a ton more engagement.
Yeah.
I mean, even if even before sort of video was a big thing, and of course video is enormous now in all industries really, but
property particularly.
Particularly, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But before video, of all the searchers that were looking at Rightmove, this data has come from Rightmove, by the way. This isn't my own research. This has come from them. It's just shy of 70% were either not moving or probably coming to market in the next 9 months.
Okay.
So there's always been people that just want to look at houses and house prices and so on and so forth.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's an interesting market, property. I find it fascinating because
I can get really boring with it. I can get really, really statty with it. As Hannah will face plant.
Yeah.
No, don't start
We'll just
him
hear
off.
us stomping on the net.
Don't start him. But yeah, I mean, to best serve our customers, I have to do all the legwork in understanding market trends and understanding what's selling and what's not selling and average house prices and average pounds per square foot and all that good stuff.
How do you stay up to date with all of that? Because it's a very fast-moving market.
it is.
It's a very fast moving. It's very fast and very slow.
Is it?
Well, valuation can change very, very quickly. From one side of the budget to the other.
Yeah.
Just even recently with the increase in stamp duty for second homes and the adjustment in stamp duty thresholds, which is going to come in sort of March, April next year.
Yeah.
That's going to have an effect on different parts of the market in different ways. It's going to drive demand. We expect to see a bit of a flurry of activity in Q1, so that's going to have an effect on, where you pitch prices.
Wow. Right.
Yeah, and then you've got Christmas. Not to date this podcast, but obviously we're in November now, so people are. In fact, I remember a few years ago now when we put ours on. We put ours on in the December, and I got ours on the market in December because I knew that when the new year comes around, I just wanted it there for January, if that makes sense. Do you find that? Is that just me making something up, or is that an actual logical thing that people do with property?
We try not to launch in December. You get a different kind of buyer. Most people, certainly the what we would call the discretionary buyers, who are, I will move if the right house comes along. Mm-hmm. Their attention is diverted towards Christmas and the holiday period and so on and so forth, which is great for agents because you get a more determined buyer and a more desperate seller because they just want it over. They just want their house sold. So our viewings to offers ratio, yes, we monitor that as well.
Gosh.
Improves. So we do fewer viewings, but we get more offers and we get more sales agreed. So you don't, as I say, you don't have quite so many speculative buyers. Busiest day on Rightmove for views was and remains Boxing Day.
Wow.
Really?
Well,
Never would have thought that.
Merry Christmas! Shut up, you lot. I need to move.
Boxing Day and second busiest day was and is, I believe, New Year's Day.
Goodness me. I never would have put that down there.
You think everyone would have the feet up and relax, but obviously
they do.
Been in the house for a day. Well, yeah, they do. Yeah, they've been in the house for a day.
They do.
I'm fed up with this house. I want to move.
Well, all of those things drive it. You also get people that break up over Christmas because there's a significant spike in separations. So they're looking at houses.
Yeah.
So you've got to
Fair enough, no, fair point.
And overwhelmingly, not always, of course, but overwhelmingly, property decisions to move are driven by the ladies.
You ladies, you.
Well, it's quite rare for us when we're doing viewing that the chap comes along and says, "Yeah, we'll definitely have it. I'll bring the wife along like at some point so that she can just just rubber
Those types of men never exist.
just so she can rubber stamp it." It very rarely happens. Whereas the reverse, like she says, "I absolutely love it. I'm sure he'll love it as well. I'll bring him along."
He has no choice.
Well, pretty much. But yeah, so it's the girls that drive the decisions more often than not.
That's because we're lazy.
Self-proclaimed.
No, absolutely. I just,
So
sounds good.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, for us, it's about sort of understanding the property type when the right time to come to market is. Because if you come to market sort of in December and you're going on at something which is an ambitious price point because you want to maximise its value and you're not in a particular rush, you may well find that by the time the market wakes up in quarter one of the new year, your house has suddenly been on the market for 4 months, and everyone has said, like, I wonder what's wrong with it. So
we had an offer the second week of January, by the way.
Yeah.
At the asking price. So job was a good one for us. But
Yeah, no,
it was
absolutely.
but we were a very different proposition in terms of property. We were a first time buyer in that property, and we needed to expand. So for us, it just sort of worked, and then we had that on. So
I mean, there are. I mean, I'm going to caveat everything I'm saying with there are always exceptions to the rule.
Of
And
course.
But I bet the valuation thing, and I want to lean into this. I bet that is probably one of the areas of most friction you can receive sometimes, is it not? With like trying to get it right. Someone going, well, I reckon it's
Worth
because
it.
I bet
It's like, no, it's not.
if I was to value my house, I'll be honest, it's finger in the air. Like I'm going, well, it's worth £1 million. No, it's not. But it's me just decide, because that's what its value is to me potentially. I've lived in it. I've got memories in there. It's special because you've done that. But I bet you come up against that all the time, do you not?
Well, as agents, we know that the person with the highest expectation of what the house is worth is the owner.
Of course.
And I mean, there have been times. Well, I was going to say throughout my career, pretty much always, where you're going to a property and it's one that's a statement house or one that's, like everyone has admired and hasn't come on the market forever. And you're not valuing it, you're bidding for it because all the other agents have said, I think it's worth 1.7 million. And you go like, oh my God, how have they ever got to that?
Yeah.
And then you can adopt the attitude that, well, yes, let's try it at that and see where it goes, because you never know. There might be just this one buyer. Yeah. But that's a marketing conversation, because the valuation conversation is that the thing might sit at 1.5 on a comparable basis to what has sold. So, there's two parts to the conversation when we go out and have these kind of advice meetings. It's what is the value? And the value can only ever be based on what is comparable. And sometimes there is a lack of comparable evidence, and you are, having a very educated guess with, based on houses which might be sold not quite so recently or a bit further out or whatever, and you get a feel for it. But even if I valued everything in your street, I'd come up with a different number for every single one. So when you're talking about what's the value, you can only really ever come up with a range of numbers. Well, if you were selling to a landlord or an investor, its value would be maybe down here because its rental yield would be so low that to them, its value would be down there to make the numbers work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If a sort of a 6-bedroom townhouse to a downsizer is not worth anything. So it's so its value can only ever sit in a range based on what has sold.
Yeah.
Its asking price is part of the marketing. The asking price is designed to, get people in. I mean, I can't claim credit for this question because it's a great one, but we advise our vendors sometimes if it's if they're being particularly ambitious, and say to the agent, well, I understand that they valued it at that. Ask them, if they don't sell it at that, will they do it for free? and see what they say.
Yeah. It's a great.
Fair enough.
No, that's a fair
Yeah,
point. What interesting to me then is what aspects of any house, and I want to expand that to area, whatever. What makes a perfect house as opposed to right next to a building site where you think, yeah. So there must be so many influences.
Well, there is. It's, I mean, putting a value on something, which is, I mean, that, my baseline here is that a valuation is always only ever an opinion of worth.
Yes.
An opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Based on what has sold. And putting a value on something is a bit of head and a bit of heart, a bit of art and science. If it was all science, it'd be easy because you would say, well,
everybody could do absolutely.
Pounds per square foot in that street is £177. It's 1,450 square feet. So one times the other, that's your value.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's far more sort of nuanced and subtle. To some people, they won't even come and look at a house unless it's got a south-facing garden. But I can't say, right, south-facing garden, £7,300. Yeah. Proximity to the school. If you've got kids of school age that you want to get into that school, that house has got a premium.
Yeah, yeah.
To somebody else, it's an irrelevance.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. To downsizers, they put value on a garage.
Yeah.
What's a garage worth? I mean, in kind of money terms, a garage is I don't know, £7 to £10,000.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But it's additional, the additional functionality and desirability of having a garage in a bungalow, is significant.
Yeah.
For some bungalows, having a massive garden is a disadvantage because your target buyer doesn't want to have to get on a blooming sit-on mower and go and mow it.
I could just see they've got a garage, add £10,000.
Yeah.
There's no school nearby, remove £7,000.
And that's why I'm saying, when I'm going out and talking to people, its asking price, its valuation sits in this kind of range based on what has sold. The asking price, you can ask what you want. You just put it on for $2 million, see how you get on. I mean,
I think that's the thing with property. If I was to go buy a coffee.
No, I've got mine, thanks.
Yeah, I know you've got one this morning. Yeah, so have you. But I know if I go to a coffee shop in town, whether it's a big chain, national chain, or whether it's an independent, I know roughly that I'll be paying, I don't know, anything from £2.80 to £3.80 perhaps. Yeah, you got a very good idea. That's not so much of an issue because it's within a pound.
Yeah.
And the problem is with property, everyone's different.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not, a cup of coffee is a cup of coffee at the end of the day in terms of you're getting a latte, flying around there. If you're getting a latte, it's the coffee. I think the issue with property is, like you say, have you got a garage? Have you got this? What's the location? I went to, in my property buying experience, when we went through the process of buying our first home, and I had to do so much learning, as I'm sure you're familiar with. So I was going around. Anyway, we went around this one property, and it was looking good. It was a lovely 3-bed, semi-detached. It was in town, and it's funny, like the media, the photography, and all of that. All the photos look great. So we went in. We're like, yes, this is looking promising. And worked my way around, going, yeah, I think I might make an offer on this. Until we got upstairs, and what they'd done is kind of over the staircase put like a suspended floor stroke room stroke cupboard.
Nice.
And then put a toilet in it with a sliding door. So you could, in theory, be sat on the toilet and slide open the door to your landing. Morning! And I was like, how, obviously they're trying to solve a problem for them.
It's what all the big house builders are doing now.
Yeah.
Like sliding doors.
Sliding door on your landing so you can talk to
Absolutely.
people. But how many, I suppose it may be a bit different, you could tell me, at this level of property that you're looking at. But obviously they solved the solution for them. But I'm looking at it going, it takes it out, because if I'm thinking a landing toilet with a sliding door above the staircase is a bit odd.
And that was missed out on the property particulars as a key feature.
No, there's 2 toilets. Okay. Not a landing toilet with a slider. talk to your guests in the spare room.
Absolutely.
From the land. Yeah. So, but how many of those sort of things do you see where
plenty.
Someone's cowboyed
Yeah.
a solution for them? All right, probably built it properly, but I don't mean that. So put that solution in, and then you're like, this is really difficult to explain. Have you had many of those?
Plenty. And so we frequently get called out by people who are saying, I'm thinking about putting an extension on, or I'm putting a this on, or I'm going to do a this. What do you think its value is going to, what will it add to the value of the house? My smart ass answer is, well, it depends when you're selling it.
Yeah, true.
It depends.
What's the price of the coffee? Yeah, the equivalent.
I mean, I will, of course, give them a view based, again, on kind of comparable evidence based on what, similar properties that have had these alterations done. But overwhelmingly, my advice is, like, if you need that and that works for you and it enhances your life here, do it. And then we'll figure it out when you come to sell it in 5-10 years' time.
Yeah.
But people say, well, I'm thinking about putting a double height extension on here. What do you think? What's it going to be worth? In 10 years' time, you go like, well, I have no
surely
idea.
nobody does that purely to add value to the house. It must be for a reason, like the sliding.
Well, as I say, some people do make these alterations with one eye on the
End goal of selling
on the end goal.
Yeah.
And of course, some people say, I'm considering doing this, and I don't know whether it's going to add value to the house or whether we should just sell the house and move and use the money that we were going to do.
I had some friends who had that conversation, actually.
Yeah.
They were looking at that.
So again, we kind of have those kind of advice meetings as well.
That must be really difficult, though, because you get paid when you sell houses, correct?
Yeah, but it's about, this is what I mean. This is why I'll never be a millionaire like you guys.
They're behind the TV, these millionaires. Where are they?
Our offering is all about robust professional advice, and we aim to be, someone's long-term agent. And if I give them crap advice now, I mean, they're never going to use it.
So
let's just get it on the market.
I just fed you that
Yes.
that thing deliberately, so you would say long-term, because what I'm trying to get to is the brand element of what you're all about is very evident and clear to see. And you said it in yourself in your answers in terms of, yes, we'll talk to you now, and if you're ready in 5 years, we'll be here for you. So I was being a bit facetious in terms of asking you that question, but it is true in terms of offering that advice. But it's great to see sort of the importance that you play on brand in terms of you're a friendly ear to talk to, and you can offer advice. Appreciate that the market conditions can change, this, that, and the other. We've seen cost of living fly through the roof. We've seen, that had a knock on to materials and expenses and all this sort of stuff. And it poses a lot of challenges. But the fact that you're there in the present and you're able to advise people, I think it's really good. I think it's,
As I say, we frequently go out to valuations or advice meetings in areas of the town that we, in an ideal world, we wouldn't operate in, and I'll just, I'll be completely sort of upfront with people and say, this is what I think it's worth. This is what I think you need to do to it. We're probably not the agent for you, primarily because we just don't have the buyers that are looking for this kind of house on our database. So I think your interests are better served with someone else. But look, we're still here if you need us. I mean, and to your point about the sliding door toilet, again, we see this a lot where someone has kind of almost put a homemade kind of thing on the back or converted a garage or tried to convert a garage or gone up in the loft and we see all these kinds of things because it works for them. But we are just in the interest of professional advice, we say you can't count that. That's really going to catch you out if you try and position that as part of the sale. I don't think that anyone would attach any real value to this, etc., etc., etc. So
interesting. Have you got any advice for people looking to buy your houses? I mean, first time. Are your range of houses typically first time, or is it always like if I call it the experienced buyer?
No, we have a whole range of buyers.
Good.
And that's one of the challenges. We can pick our vendors, we can't pick our buyers. But I think certainly over the last 24 months, where we've had such turbulence in the market,
Yeah.
mortgage rates going up, cost of living going up, inflation going up, change of government, and so on.
Everything going up.
budget, it's made buyers a lot more cautious.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing as a trend is people are looking at more before they make a decision.
Right.
Offering less as a start point to see whether there's any flexibility as far as the owners are concerned. So they start off with something ambitious as a starting bid.
cheeky little
well,
offer.
you've just got to be, but you sort of say to buyers, look, okay, I am obliged to put forward any offer that you want to put forward.
Of
but
course.
I'm just from an expectation management point of view, you do run the risk of souring any further negotiation because you're so far off the mark.
Yeah.
And can just before I put this forward, can I just help me understand how you've arrived at that number?
Because I'm a cheeky little bugger.
Well,
I'm trying it on.
I'm trying it on. Yeah.
Well, the term buyer's market has been used in the last few years.
Yep.
Obviously, we had Liz Truss through who turned the property market almost off overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I was in a job in Scotland for something else, but I was working in property at the time with a few people. I was like, "It's broken." So I'm like, "What do you mean it's broken?" Like all of it, it's broken. So there's been like a real. And I'm not getting political with it. I'm just saying, like, it did affect the property market massively. It affected the whole lot. It's been a really, I mean, you wouldn't expect.
Turbulent,
Yeah, well, you've had
absolutely.
COVID, and then you had Suez Canal, which affected house building and every other industry in the world, pretty much. Yeah, but all
absolutely.
of that sort of stuff. So it's been a really turbulent time.
and prior to that, you had Brexit,
Yeah,
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 of course.
of course.
So 2019, and you had
Yeah.
Theresa May was prime minister. Then you had Boris. Then you had a general election.
Yeah.
And then they got in. The Conservatives got in. We thought, right, we understand whatever the colour of your politics. We know that we're leaving the EU. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then 3 months later, we went into lockdown. So everyone was stuck for 6 weeks in
Yeah.
houses that didn't work for them and in relationships that didn't work for them. The housing market was unlocked because we were able to work all the way through it, which was fun. And then Uncle Rishi lit the blue touch paper by saying, do you know what? We're going to give you a bit of a stamp duty break. So, of course, everything went crazy.
Yeah.
And then we had two cliff edges while he said stamp duty finishes then.
Yeah.
And then he's, oh, no, I know I said March, but it's actually going to be July. And Truss got in. And then, of course, the mortgage market just was in turmoil.
Absolutely.
I mean, 2007, 2008, that was all about liquidity. I mean, lenders were just pulling products because there was no money; they couldn't lend. But just immediately following what the Kwarteng Trust budget, they just didn't know what to charge,
No.
so they just pulled the products. So of course, the supply of lending products just was completely restricted. Yeah,
It's been a very turbulent market.
I
I
think
think
it's-
it's-
yeah, it's-
No, exactly.
yeah.
But with all that in mind, then I've heard people use the term it's a buyer's market because of all of that turbulence going on. Because it's like, at the end of the day, if most people aren't necessarily in a complete rush to get into the next home unless they're in the middle of they put an offer in the house that they want and they want to get the chain moving. I get that. Or they're in rented and they've got a hand in the notice period.
Yep.
But generally, you can look around. I was in. I've got some tech in that box over there, which I'll show you afterwards.
Good.
But I was in the shop looking at said tech, and there's other people in there, and they were going. Not that I was being nosy, but I couldn't help it. They were like going, and look at this one from so and so, and look at this one. They literally had about 5 different web browser tabs up, looking at the same product. We were in Currys and they were looking at Amazon, Jessup's, like all of the different providers, and they were like, "Oh, it's this on this," but they don't quite get that package here. And I imagine at the moment it's very much like that with property, in terms of you can have a look and you can sort of go and do a viewing and you can go do this, that, and the other, and then you could just go look at another one and another one and another one. So I imagine that it's been with the challenges that you faced on the political side with the economy and things like that. I imagine it's been tricky waters at times because people are probably using house viewings to make a decision on whether they actually want to buy a house and move property.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, you've got more houses coming to market. I mean, part of that is to do with landlords exiting the rental market.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other thing that's come out recently.
So you've got more stock. So there's certainly evidence to say that someone will put in an offer on something, and then something else will come to market, and they switch horses.
Yeah.
Because more and more stuff's coming to market, and of course, with more choice, people do tend to sit on their hands just waiting for the absolutely perfect one.
Yeah.
Whereas in COVID, I mean, a blind man on a galloping horse could have sold a house. We were, there was just, there was such limited stock of really good stock. So of course, when something really desirable came along, people were just like piling in and trampling each other and overpaying. So of course now, 3-4 years later, when they want to return to market or they're thinking about returning to market, they overpaid going into that deal, and of course, they're potentially coming back to market in entirely different market conditions. So it's
interesting.
It's an interesting.
It's not just putting a board up outside a house, is it?
I don't think it is. So one of the things that I find very interesting is obviously we've been good friends for a long time. We obviously manage your IT and tech. We've seen you grow phenomenally in terms of that. Obviously, as I said, we've got lovely Hannah on board. You've got your other great guys and team. How have you found growing the business? Because me and Adam break down and cry every time. But obviously growing it's hard, isn't it, Tony?
Yeah.
It really is hard. But obviously you've got to have a team to help you, because how can you grow? So how has the team affected you in terms of expansion?
Holy smoke! I mean, this has been the problem ever since I've been managing people and in business. It's always about the team and the people, and getting the right group of people around you with with similar ideals and a similar goal is absolutely crucial to your growth. You get the right team, and you can move mountains.
No, absolutely.
I do. I'm not just saying this because Hannah's here, but I do consider myself enormously blessed, to have such a great group of people around me. So,
I've recorded that, Hannah. That's fine. It's fine.
She'll play it back on loop in the office, but as I say, it's always about the people.
Oh, definitely.
And we've always tried to recruit for attitude and train the skills in.
Yeah, you can do that, can't you? If you've got the right attitude, you can, as you say, you can train it and move the mountain for you. So in terms of that, we've also seen you move with technology. But bless you, you've been in this business years.
Wow. Yep.
Well, back in the day, was it like note papers and pens and papers? But now it's all phones, technology. How has it affected that?
It's so different. I mean, property is one of the most digitized industries, and it's difficult to know where to start with it because the subject is so big and tech has affected so much. Just if you look at cameras, I mean, it used to be film, take it down to the boots and get it developed, and then sort of staple it onto sales particulars and then photocopy it in black and white, half a dozen times, and then send that out in an envelope. I mean, we thought it was completely groundbreaking when you put the images were on a chip.
Yes.
Which you then uploaded into your computer.
Oh my God! What black magic is this?
Look at this digital imagery.
Exactly.
But that's where, if I jump in there, though, that's where, if I say estate agent, what pops in my head is the window. With all the properties in the window. That is still, you don't have that.
No.
And we'll go into that. But that is still there that you're seeing. And I think that it's interesting because back in the day, before Rightmove and all the big platforms, you had to show your stock
Yeah.
Basically, this is our stock of houses. So if you were house hunting, you'd literally have to walk around each estate agent's,
Oh, absolutely.
stare in the window,
Yeah.
ring them, or ring them up or do whatever. But like, if you wanted to see it and get an idea, you had to literally stand and look at each individual property and work your way through.
Well, your start point generally, if you were house hunting, was to pick up a newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd have a look at not only what else was in your street or immediately surrounding area to kind of give you a view on what yours was roughly worth, and then you'd start looking at others. And then if you had a wife that was particularly motivated, speaking from experience here, then you'd be in the car every night driving round looking for boards. Then you'd drive down to the estate agent and you'd look for that house in the window of that agent.
Yeah, so you could either go at the agent window, find a property that you might have a look at, or you could go and find a board and then go. But it's interesting how that's shaped, how it still looks now. Because I'm like, I know the images are in there, but really, I wonder if there's any Rightmove data on how many, is it how many people look at agent well, how many people look at, because we've, all the estate agents that you see, generally speaking, on the high street, they've still got those property listings on there, when in reality, everyone's got it on Rightmove on the phone, usually.
I mean, certainly high street estate agents have, the number of branches has reduced. It's gone the way of insurance brokers. I mean, the three of us would probably remember a time if you had a car insurance renewal, you'd just walk up and down a particular high street with your renewal notice and say, "Can you beat that? Can you beat that? Can you beat that?"
Yeah.
Would you ever dream of going into a high street broker today?
Gosh, no.
So you'd be straight on the internet. And to a degree, I mean, it's full marks to our industry for being as resilient.
No, that's me.
Oh yeah, of course.
Very clever. Very clever.
good.
Thank you.
That's his dad joke. That's his dad joke. Yeah, that's his dad joke of the week. There's one every week, and that was that one.
Okay.
Honestly.
But obviously, Rightmove has been an absolute game changer as far as the way that people search for property. And we've made it our business to really understand that buyer journey, because if you want to sell a house, you have to think like a buyer, buy or rent a house. So, lost my thread.
So we're talking about high street agents. So you
So
don't
it's
have
still
that window.
no, we don't.
No.
But the data shows that it's less than 20% of vendors and less than 25% of buyers go into an estate agent's office. It's a little higher for tenants because they have to be referenced, so they will go in, and that's a real reason to have a high street presence. But not many landlords. It's a slightly higher proportion of landlords and tenants go in, but it's still quite a cost-effective, particularly in the northeast, quite a cost-effective, way to sort of get your brand in front of eyes, and certainly people do get a degree of comfort from seeing that you have got a physical presence and you're not trading from your bedroom.
Absolutely.
No, but
you're here.
Yeah, you're here and stuff like that.
It's just, it's interesting because I think be interested in how many, like, in 10 years' time, will estate agents still have the window?
Well,
listings.
It again, interesting, how our industry is changing, but the growth of a lot of agents has been through the self-employed model.
Right.
So EXP, which is based down in Southeast, they are right up there as in terms of number of agents and listings. They're certainly top 5.
Yeah.
Purple Bricks never had any shops.
No, but they've gone now, haven't they?
I think they're still around.
They were bought by Strike.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
See.
So like Purple Bricks was the one where it started to like go, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
It's like, come online and sell your house. I remember kind of catching myself because 90s Adam here was like, wait a minute, sell my house. It's like, no, wait, every property is listed. It's a listing at the end of the day with information.
Yeah.
And you kind of catch yourself, don't you?
Exactly.
Especially when you've had a pre-internet world or pre-internet.
It's interesting as well. You were saying about the window. Nowadays, I've seen, when we have been walking around, I've seen estate agents where you do stop and look in the window, but now it's moving imagery. You know, it's not a piece of paper.
It's those
a,
moving pictures.
There's moving pictures. You know the ones from the 1950s? But no, it's like a video. So you actually have a moving video screen where it's like an iPad or something.
Interactive screens.
Yeah, interactive screens. It's incredible how that's
definitely
changed.
a thing.
Yeah.
QR codes on for sale boards.
Yeah.
So you scan the code and it'll bring up the listing.
Yeah.
What I would like to say, and I am not just saying this, what I found, because obviously I do work with you and obviously bless the relationship with Dan and Hannah, I get a little bit, a tiny bit more insight. But I genuinely feel that when you present a house, I almost get to know the house. And I mean that in the nicest way, because the way you present it, it just seems to be so on it, even the way that you walk up to the house, you know, so you get an idea. You go, all right, okay, so this is how you go into the house. And again, and I'm not just saying this, but I genuinely feel as though you all, the team, get to know the house so well, and that definitely portrays when I'm watching the videos.
Thank you.
No, honestly, it really is nice when I'm seeing that.
I mean, we do feel that we have to be personally invested in it.
Yes, and that's what comes across.
I love all my vendors and I love all the houses we bring to market.
Yeah.
And to some degree, that's almost my, like, would I buy this?
Yes, absolutely.
A bit. Yeah. Or am I, do I care? Am I just putting a board up and then moving on to the next one?
Yeah.
And it's, we care about the house more than our own brand, if you like.
Yeah.
No one gives a stuff about Anthony Jones Properties. You know, we're showcasing the house.
Yes.
And it's about the house and how that house will enable a particular lifestyle for you. Rather than, just walking through and here's the kitchen and here's the dining room and here's the living room. It's apart from it being a bit dull, but we as I said before, we really try and get under the skin of the thing.
Storytelling.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is that we were at the Northeast Expo and yesterday, as you know, and we were talking to another couple of other people, vendors, if you like, and customers. What was really interesting, we all sort of like, there was three of us all sat talking, we were like, interesting. What this person was actually saying is what you've portrayed there. The larger vendors in any industry, so yours, mine, Anthony Jones Properties, this person was saying they don't seem to care. It's a churning machine. He said, what I've done, and this was his particular case, he was saying he's moved away from the larger corporate business that he was particularly in because he felt as though the company just didn't care. He was going back to a smaller company because he felt that they were more proactive. They felt they cared, which is the wording that you've just used. And he went, even though this bigger company was saying, we are bigger, we are better, we're doing this, we can do this, we've got more people around, he went, I just don't feel as though they cared. And obviously you've just echoed that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we really do. I mean, the thing that tech has given us is the ability to compete and go toe to toe with Savills. I mean, we Knight Frank, whoever, we can put our stock on exactly the same portal.
Yeah, I look at it the same with the IT in terms of Teams, and Office, because I'm going into a work with a client, and they're like, "Oh, we've got Office 365," and I'm like, I'm toe to toe with the bigger organisations we're working with now. I'm like. And in fact, it turns out I'm using it better than the big organ because there's a whole training need and all sorts. I think the other thing to touch on is I've been looking at like my business, kind of going like, how am I running it? What am I doing? What's the long goal? What am I thinking? And I've been investigating like mentorship type activities, and it's been really good so far. But what it occurs to me is, when you're doing business, so it's me doing the job versus me running the business, and that's the challenge I'm finding at the moment in terms of what we're doing. But what I've found is the people that have done the flipped the business, they've sold the business. I'm not necessarily looking for that. I'm looking to build a business. I just want to have a holiday, and take a full holiday. I've taken holidays this year and it's been great, but it's like, how do I quality of life for me as a business owner? So I'm like, how do I bring that back? But what I've realised is when I'm looking at it, it's very easy to get caught up in the numbers with scale and going, how big do you want to be? And some people are like, I'm going to stack them high and sell them high and all this sort of stuff. And I think part of the thing that you've got to be careful with larger businesses, or larger businesses are a victim to, is they're so focused on numbers and metrics in terms of revenue, sales. How quick are we getting a sale done, whether it's property or whether it's something else? How quick are we getting it done? What's our acquisition rate? How many sales leads are we getting in? It all becomes sort of a numbers, very impersonable numbers game. So I think at
That's
top level,
exactly what was echoed by this gentleman.
yeah, and I think there's something to be said. So we're renewing our HR services. We're going with a different company. I've gone with a small business.
Yeah.
Because I'm like the local, and I've gone, brilliant, I want you to come in and work with us. Because I'm like, at the moment with a national thing, and I'm like, but I want to work with, because I believe in small business, so I need to put my money where my mouth is. If I'm expecting people buying into me, why not buying into others?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the big players, it does become a numbers game. And then how do you disseminate that through your team of staff? Because they're not all the business owners. I think the difference is with yourself. You're involved. Yes, you've got a team, they're empowered, but they know your way.
Yeah.
And I think as you scale with businesses, sometimes that gets lost, or it can get hugely lost.
It's hugely lost, Adam, and certainly, again, echoing what this gentleman said yesterday, and through my own personal experience when I've been speaking to other people in the IT industry, larger corporate machines. I remember speaking to one gentleman, he actually didn't enjoy his life. He's like, all I've got to do is find more businesses, more customers to feed this beast. He went, it's a nightmare. And I never ever want to get to that stage. But bringing us back on point in terms of the tech, Tony, in terms of what we feel, just that warmth that you generate is actually complementing the tech that you do. Because obviously I'm looking at the screen, Hannah generates the video, and yes, I'm looking at the tech, but as I said, I want to reiterate that warmth.
Not looking at the presenter.
No.
He's all
He's
right.
just gorgeous. But no.
Look at him smouldering on camera.
Absolutely. But that's just wonderful to see that you are utilising that tech, because obviously if I'm feeling that warmth, then obviously your potential buyers are feeling that warmth. So it's helping tremendously. I just feel it's great for you.
But I mean, just to say, I don't want to bore you with a list of how yes.
Sorry.
But just camera technology and what
Yeah.
you're now able to do with cameras, and how just the SLR camera becomes video, and drone technology, and aerial shots, and how you're able to now create videos reasonably easily.
There's still an art
there's
to it.
definitely
but-
a skill to it, no question. But it's a lot easier than it was before. I mean, there are some agents that are producing almost TV standard,
Yes.
walkthroughs, and then you've got
Sorry, Alina,
right.
go in that box for me, please, while you're talking. So, TV standard interviews. I'm going to show you something.
you've got the digitization of land registry. And how long it currently takes to get a sale through. Can you believe? It's the average when I last looked was 17 weeks.
Goodness me.
Right?
I mean,
17 weeks.
even in two-party transactions, it'd be really, really unusual for it to be any less than about 8 weeks. I mean, it's still 2 months, 3 months. You think like everything is online. All of the information is there. How come it's just so difficult? And don't even start about AI and the impact that's going to have currently and what it will do.
Yeah.
Certainly to property search. I mean, the portals must be absolutely terrified because at the moment most of them just serve up just a big list of pictures of houses.
Yeah.
In the future, you'll
Based on a postcode.
exactly in the future you'll be able to say, well,
This is my lifestyle.
this is my lifestyle. This is where I want to live, and this is exactly what I want. And it'll find you the house. And this tech exists already. We can write to any house and say, have you considered selling?
Yeah.
We can find the owner's details. We can find their salary, how old the kids are. I mean, when the kids are likely to be moving, how long someone's going to have lived in a
scary, isn't it?
particular house. So, the data is just enormous. And then you've got augmented reality.
Yes.
So, that's coming down the line.
Yeah,
so you can
definitely.
You can you could sit remotely and just sort of change the decor, change the furniture, just with a VR headset on. So it's...
Yeah, but back to what you were saying, though, we are finding that, you were saying about the insurance brokers. Nowadays, everybody just goes online.
Yep.
But to me, that is a model that demands I don't need to interact with anybody. Buying a house is completely different. What you said in the early part of this episode, Tony, about you get to meet the people, you learn about the people, you learn about the house, its history. You'll never find that from online or AI. You won't. You actually seem to get inside the owner's head, get out the little bit of nugget of glossy information, and then you feed that back to the potential buyer. You're never going to replace that.
Well, thank you, and I'm reasonably confident that is the case.
Yeah.
Buying decisions are made on that emotional level.
Yes.
And then typically justified on a rational level after the event.
No, exactly.
So I'm hopeful that as long as we stay personable.
Well, I think so.
Because it is a people business. There's no question about it.
It is.
100%.
No, before Adam gets out, whatever he's got into there, one final question there.
Yeah.
Do you have repeat sellers and buyers? Do you go from a person that's like, oh, they've moved house 4 or 5 times with you? Do you go on that journey with them? Or is it, may I say respectfully, a one-off? Like, hello, Andrew, there's your house. Bye-bye, never hear from you again.
Generally, if someone's bought a house from you, they will at least bring you back for the valuation because there's an appreciation that you understand the house.
Yeah.
And sometimes you will get to sell the house 2 or 3 times.
Wow, never thought of that. Never thought about that.
And generally people move every 13 or so years, but in new builds they move every 6 or 7 years. So
never knew that.
you get a much quicker churn with a new build house. So
Interesting.
Interesting.
I like
I'm waiting. Come on,
Right.
come on.
So you talk about embracing
Look at
technology.
this little drone.
Just for if you're listening, Alina, is it on my camera there? Can you see it? So drone technology, obviously, we do drone stuff.
You do, absolutely.
And I've felt now's the point where I've had to upskill in terms of other offers. So this is a small, it's a DJI Neo if people want to have a look at it, and it's an FPV drone. Very
FPV?
small FPV, sorry, first person. So couple that
Oh my goodness.
with my goggles, which I've got on
Wow.
my face. Okay, so what you do is it's a first person view. You're flying the drone through the goggles.
I've seen racing when they're doing this. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
It's been used for like property video, marketing videos, all sorts of stuff. And obviously with our drone operations, I've done that. But when you talk about technology in this would not have been possible at this scale.
No.
10 years
It's
ago.
tiny.
It's been FPV drones and the racing stuff were born out of DIY. You get a few little brushless motors, wire them up, put a lithium battery on that could potentially explode on you,
Yeah.
and and away you go. But now it's sort of the technology is getting further down. So this has got GPS built into it as well, so I can use it with my operations. I've gone in. This is an entry level one, so I was like, I'm going to go with this to explore it. The cameras on it is decent to explore it and do it, but it's alarming because the controller that you then use.
Is an Xbox. Oh my lord.
No, it's a joystick.
It's a joystick,
Which
it's like
you turn your hand like this, and you fly it through. So when you're talking about some of the stuff that people are using, these are an example of the tools that
That's
people
incredible.
are doing. And I've got to the point now where there's a few projects because everyone goes, "Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this?" And you're like, "Not well. I could do it if that makes sense." And this, that, and the other. I was flying this around the office yesterday. I managed to get it like under the desk between the table leg and Alina's legs and out the other side of the desk and go around the room and like all this and go through under the chair and like it's amazing what you can do with it. And it actually the technology makes you look a lot better than you are.
Yeah, because
If I-
it's self-stabilizing.
Yeah, if I was flying it manually,
No.
different story. But these are tools that could be available to someone doing property and they could easily go around and do property videos. Now, the video heavy geeks out there would say, no, you can't use this camera, it's not good enough. And this,
Yeah,
that, and the other.
exactly.
It is a great level camera and
Yeah.
you could use it in some way. What I've done is this is like me exploring
Yes.
whether we do it and then I'd drop the bigger money on the bigger
No,
drones
exactly.
and the
No,
bigger
exactly.
production. But when you're talking about, it's the size of your hand really in terms of it fits in a palm. And this is what we're seeing in property, people using and people doing it. It's amazing, like the way in which people can do it. For
But that
us,
still doesn't get away from the fact that the knowledge and the experience.
well, it's then the storytelling.
It's the
So
storytelling,
One
yeah,
thing
yeah.
is the fancy video and the fly through, and people can understand the space. But if it's not without the story, I'd say it's not that. You could put that video on alone and not just go, here's a 3-bedroom property, toilet on the landing with a slider, and it wouldn't do as well as if you actually took the time to talk about it, create a proper listing. When you're talking about AI, the example I've used the last few weeks is been doing job applications. I volunteer at the rugby club for the staff. And one of them came in and was like, I am resolute in high customer service. I'm like, resolute, it's not the 1600s.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was AI. Because I put it into an AI reader and it went, yep, all. And you can tell.
You could tell, absolutely.
At the moment, you can tell. It's when you then start not being able to tell. That's when we're in tricky position.
Just wrapping up and a couple of other questions. Is letting something that you are investigating and renting now?
We do rentals on a very small scale.
Right, okay then. So what was the decision making behind that? Is it just exploring it, or felt as though you could offer a difference?
Initially, we felt that we just had to do it as accommodation business for existing clients.
Right, okay.
So, get it? Accommodation business?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's just wasn't funny.
See what I did that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it wasn't my joke, that's the point.
Oh, he was accommodating them. Do you get it?
Aha!
Do you get it? Why did you laugh at mine and not his?
Because he's funny and you're not.
Oh, right. Thank you.
So, again, lettings is something which lends itself very well to what we do or our model, because there's so much regulation and there's so much compliance, which of course is kind of up our street. We
Up our street. See, that's two.
It's just embedded. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I love that one.
Great.
So I mean, again, the landlord that has, let's say, a slightly more relaxed attitude to regulation, and just wants any tenant in there, and will treat the house just as a bit of a cash cow. They're probably not for us, and we're probably not for them, because we will drive them nuts in the same way that they will drive us nuts. But someone that again puts importance on robust professional advice, making sure that we get the compliance piece right and get the right tenant, and the house is compliant and regularly inspected and so on. Then we're going to get on just fine, and it'll be better for the tenant as well.
I think the landlord piece at the moment is, obviously it's been politically in the news and this, that and the other, but it does kind of, I'd say it felt, I don't know whether you agree, it kind of made it feel like all landlords were bad. I'm not saying they are, it's air quotes. Like, their landlords are bad, so we need to fix them. It's not the case. No. You've got some really good landlords that are looking out, and equally you've got some great agents that want to go, we only want to work with the good landlords and this and the other. So,
but overwhelmingly, landlords do not use agents.
No, they don't.
It's like 82%.
Is it?
Of landlords do not have their property managed by an agent.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So I've always found landlords is a very difficult game. I know the story I've got is a friend of mine. He bought a second house. He then rented out his second house. Did it himself. We did it all professionally. Did it all legally. The reason he got out of the market though is because he was constantly being called round by his renters, or his property people. And the one that he reminded me of is that like the carpet where the door was opening. He says the carpet's ripped. And he went round and he went, okay, I'll come and sort it out. Went round and had a look, and the carpet was ripped because the door was hanging off its hinges. And because it was hanging off its hinges, it was digging into the carpet. So the owners, the people that are renting it, were pulling the door harder and harder and harder and ripped the carpet. And he went, okay, the carpet's ripped because the door hinges were coming off. If you'd have told me about the door hinges, the carpet wouldn't have ripped. Why didn't you tell me about the door hinges? It's not my job to tell you about the door hinges. I'm telling you that the carpet's ripped. And he was like, I don't get it. And the whole thing, and that obviously, unfortunately, opened up his whole eyes to everything else. And he started looking around, and it's like, looked in the back, and he was like, there's water on the floor. And he went, yeah, the sink's leaking. You never told me? You've never thought to tell me that? No, that's not my job to tell you. Oh, by the way, can you clean the oven? And my guy was like, what? It's your roof. And he went, no, we rent it off you. You should clean it. And honestly, his mind was just blown to the point, I'm getting out of this market.
It's a tricky game. It's a tricky game if you don't get it right in terms of expectations.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be like. I'd use a letting agent.
But that's the way to do it, though, isn't it?
Last question is what you're doing this weekend.
Yes, that's it.
That's
What
what
I'm
we
doing
all
this weekend.
Yeah.
Selling houses.
Selling houses. I'm working tomorrow.
Oh, bless
Working
you.
tomorrow.
And then Sunday, not a great deal actually. My other half is going on a spa day, so I've got the day to myself.
Party at Tony's house.
yeah.
Boys' time.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Yeah,
What about yourself,
absolutely
maybe?
will.
I'm playing rugby tomorrow.
Win.
Hopefully.
Otherwise,
I'll try.
Otherwise-
It's going to be tough. England play rugby against South Africa, so I'll be watching that tomorrow night. And then
Sunday.
kids rugby. That's it, coaching the rugby. What about you?
Nothing, actually. We've had a pretty busy.
Yeah, you've been busy.
Been a
weeks.
busy weekend for you. So this weekend, probably just more Factorio. Play, and play. And a bit of chilling, that's me.
Brilliant. Well,
Can I also shout out to Ryan
yeah.
from, he mentioned me yesterday, Ryan from Shout Loud Social. He grabbed me and went, I've seen you.
Shout loud.
Shout Loud Social.
go.
I've seen you on TV. He said something like that. So shout out to Ryan. Thank you for listening in. So we've got 4 listeners now.
Oh, there we go.
Fantastic.
And Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you
How
so
can
much.
people find out about you? What's the best way to do?
They can write us a letter.
Look through our window.
Look through the window. Obviously, you can find us on our website.
AnthonyJonesProperties.com.
Anthony Jones Properties. We're all over socials as well.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to see the videos, search for Anthony Jones Properties
Yeah,
on Instagram. He's really
good,
great
really
place to
good
go and see
videos.
the
Yeah,
videos there.
exactly. Or they can email you on I'm a star at.
Anthony Jones Properties.
Yeah, no.
That doesn't exist.
That doesn't exist.
Well, have a great weekend.
Have a
Thank
great
you so
weekend,
much for
guys.
joining
Thank you
us.
so much.
The chance to come in and speak to you. So
Absolutely.
No, it's been great. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
See you later, everybody.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.